Ask Reddit. Should the USA place a fat tax on sugary drinks and junk food to combat obesity? Why or why not? Part 2. I think people should just take some personal responsibility, right? This is Reddit. People want complete government control, no responsibilities, complete socialism, and government programs from cradle to grave making every decision for you. Yes, because that's how we eradicated smoking, by making cigarettes more expensive. In general, I don't think it's the government's job to tell people what choices to make, but cigarettes are disgusting and terrible, and I'm glad they're eradicated. Although I do wish we didn't need the government to compensate for stupidity. Junk food is a tricker beast, though. There's a lot of gray area to it and a big slippery slope. I personally don't drink sugary drinks, and it kills me a little when I see a fat person drinking a soda, but that problem is much more complex than you can fix with a tax disincentive. Taxing a drink is absolutely not going to 1. Teach people to make good decisions, 2. Educate them about nutrition and exercise, or 3. Give them willpower to make good choices. It's just going to put more of a financial burden on them and perpetuate the spiral. Yeah, let's allow the feds the ability to tax more of our lives. They don't have enough F-35s to waste taxpayers' money on. No. People know how to avoid obesity, don't overdo it with junk food, and move around a little bit. Why should a fit person have to pay a bit more for a treat just because obese fat people eat it for every meal? Because kids are at the mercy of their dumb parents. The worst cases of obesity begin in childhood. Once you have set that hormone imbalance off by too much sugar, it's almost impossible to set it right again. We could just remove subsidies on corn syrup first, or the entire refined sugar industry while we're at it, or we could just tax the rich and leave people alone with their vices. It's not like people are trying to become obese. No, it's up to the people to decide to be healthy or not. The government shouldn't punish a company for what is clearly known. It's a free country where people have to pay for their own health care, isn't it? So what does it matter if people get fat? The poor don't pay for their own health care, though. Medicaid is paid for them. Being honest, I didn't know that. I'm not a U.S. resident, but I still believe that you can't police others' free choice of how they live their lives. I'm going to go with no. The U.S. government has more power than I like already. They can screw right off with new taxes. Hell no, this is a free country. Don't tell me what to eat. Attempting to adjust obesity levels via economic incentives is going to do nearly nothing to solve the issue. People are not obese because they cannot afford healthy food. Portion control alone would allow someone to maintain a reasonable weight even on a carb-based diet. The root cause is low self-control. If someone eats exclusively McDonald's because he or she is addicted to the flavor and portion size, then raising the cost via tax will only accomplish making the person bankrupt. The government has tried the same strategy to combat smoking with little success, and the same problem occurs. Addicts end up spending even more of their limited money on the object of their habits, leaving their dependence without food and the addict's addiction intact. The best way to combat obesity is likely individual treatment. Personal training, psychiatric help, and the aid of a dietitian are key. And ultimately, if the foregoing doesn't help, then surgery might be necessary. The low self-control that causes obesity is sometimes very innate, so it's impossible for some, even very rich and or smart people, to adhere to a strict diet and exercise routine. No. First, I hate that the government thinks they know what is best for me. This cuts both ways politically. Second, it is a regressive tax. I can afford a tax on junk food and it won't change my buying habits. But someone poor already can't buy healthier food. Why make them pay more? This is just a way to bring in more tax revenue and make it sound good. Finally, it doesn't work. No, they should just make healthy food more affordable. There is nothing wrong with enjoying these snacks once in a while. You gotta live life a little sometimes. The problem is overconsumption, and people who aren't well off can't eat a healthy lifestyle. I think there should be a tax for trash and one-time use materials, not a fat tax. No. For the simple fact of, it's none of the government's business what I eat. They ought to at least stop subsidizing sugar, corn, etc. Then consider taxes on foods with more X grams of sugar or fat. Only if they put the same tax on everything else that isn't either a fruit, vegetable, or grain. Y'all actually think people are gonna mind paying the extra 5 cents for a soda? I live in Orlando and people pay $10 for a can of Coke with a smile on their face. Please no new taxes until a government is in place that will use that money wisely and responsibly and not writing a check to family members with it. I think it's a bad idea because you're not at all fighting against the reason why fat people are fat. So the result would be fat people getting more poor. I'm not fat, I'm fit and athletic, but I love my candy and soda. So no, I shouldn't be taxed because others' lack of self-control. I'd rather we target the food industry than the consumers. Regulate what they're allowed to produce instead of punishing people who have been marketed to their whole lives to eat this way and in many cases are addicted. Capitalistic exploitation won't solve the issue of obesity, so no, the USA should not do this. To get to the root, we need news outlets and conscious media networks that highlight the ugly truth of poor eating habits. Absolutely not. It's not the job of the government to change the tax rate on products they do or don't like. If you're going to have a state sales tax, that's fine. It makes sense. But let the tax be the same for all goods and services. In my home state of Washington, the taxes are just nuts. 8.5% on most items, 37% on weed, 20.5% alcohol, 30% tobacco, and now they want to tax sugar as well? It never ends with these people, yet we still have a ton of financial waste. The sugar tax isn't about getting people healthier, it's about the money. If you want people to be healthier, encourage health. Encourage companies to reduce sugar content, but let people make their own decisions instead of forcing it through legislation. No, if people want to kill themselves with sugar, let them do it. I don't think it's fair for people who know moderation to be penalized. I was morbidly obese from the age of 7 to 17, and it was my right to be fat. I don't think the government adding even a 10% tax to junk food would have helped me. Ultimately, the best encouragement is being shamed by society because it makes you want to work for yourself. Absolutely not. I have a hard time understanding the notion of being a land of the free, and yet we won't let people consume sugary drinks? Why not tax cookies or ice cream? This tax doesn't address the heart of the issue. It capitalizes on the fact that they know people will still buy regardless of a sugar addiction. Health professional here, they should not. It has a prohibition effect, meaning that people are more likely to eat sugary foods as soon as you ban it. Trust me, I'm a doctor. This is very gray because a lot depends on how it's applied. If you just tax sodas, that's probably going to be fine as far as curbing people buying sodas. If you apply it to anything with corn syrup, you're actually getting into a lot of canned, packaged foods that honestly are cheap and WIC SNAP people are relying on to be able to afford them. Not to mention, fat is actually pretty essential to our diets, so it can be done, but likelihood of it being done, well, is low. I don't think a fat tax is necessary. However, the US need to stop with the fat acceptance nonsense. Keep putting thin and healthy women on magazine covers. Charge more for airline seats if a fat person is buying it. Go back to how it was before the day acceptance movement. Being fat should not be shown as a positive thing, just like being super thin is not a positive thing. Both are very unhealthy. You know, here is an idea. Why doesn't everyone just mind their own business? It used to be before social media, you could do what you wanted to, within reason. But everybody nowadays has to poke their nose into other people's business. As long as your behavior doesn't affect me negatively, you can do whatever the hell you want to. It's probably already been said, but it's not only fat people who drink sugary drinks or eat junk food. And beyond that, you can get fat by eating almost any kind of food, not just unhealthy ones. It's more like another poor person tax, because that's who it will affect the most. Heck no. Keep government out of this. We should be able to do this without their interference. Why can't the public take care of themselves or help those that cannot? Weight loss should not be a taboo topic. We have done a great job of social distancing. Let's learn from this. Please wake up and treat yourself like it matters. Look at the statistics for excess sugar consumption. 11 million deaths worldwide due to excess consumption and effects. Take pride and get involved. It is our bodies that is affected. Think government will take that money and use it for health training? No way. No taxes like this are largely regressive since lower income folks disproportionately eat, drink unhealthy options. The same can be said with other sin taxation as well, alcohol, tobacco, etc. Taxes are not the same as education. Growing up, I had no idea just how bad any sugary item was on the body. It's shocking to see people get obese and they're blind to what they do to themselves. Soda soft drink might as well be meth in a can. Taxes make the poor poorer, the rich richer. Even if you're not into being healthy or diets, I highly recommend looking up why people go keto. It's very enlightening about how food actually works on our bodies. Most of the people affected are those at the bottom of the income pyramid. If you make $75K, is a 20% increase on a soda going to bother you? Probably not. But if you make $25K and trying to raise a family, it means a whole lot more. Chances are they'll do something else to pay the tax. Taxing behavior never really works. Education works over time. See cigarettes and drunk driving. If policymakers were to stay consistent with the sin taxes on items that are damaging for health, liquor, cigarettes, and marijuana, I don't see why they shouldn't place a sin tax on the items that contribute most heavily to American deaths every year via obesity.